Are not allowed. Please observe proper decorum. Who would like to speak this morning? Anyone? Ann's getting up, okay.
This is regarding flooding. By the way, Ann Hackett, 1313. In the October 30th, 2019 community meeting at Twin Pines, Mike McGuire mentioned that there is for shovel-ready projects and that proposals will be accepted in January 2020. Has HVLA discussed this with the county and CSD? Are you jointly proposing any action? Who will be making the proposals? Thank you.
Okay. Do you have any comment? I know we're in communication with Senator McGuire.
Yeah, we've had conversations with CSD and the county. I've at least been attempting to initiate things with the county, but have been unsuccessful. But I have had conversations with Kirk at CSD. I was not aware that there was this possible funding available, but I will follow up with Kirk and the county. Typically, private agencies are not eligible, so we would have to partner with a public agency if that was the case. But I will look into it more.
And don't we have a pending conference with Mr. McGuire as a follow-up from our Firewise invitation?
That was, it was specific to Firewise, and I passed and told them we'd invite him when we had it again in the spring.
Oh, okay. Any other member comments at this time? Yes.
Ben Skerber, 3128. I'm persistent and insistent. I've brought up the issue of internet access in this room about 4 times, and it's never changed. And I think it would make it a lot more convenient and informative for us to be able to look at things while we're in here. So I'd appreciate some action on it. Thank you.
Okay, I understand that there is guest Wi-Fi in this room. Are we having issues with it?
It never works. It hasn't worked for about 3 months. Finance committee meetings.
We had during the outage, we had people here using the internet, so I don't think that's no. No. Okay.
Okay, well, we'd rather than debate it, we'll look into it and see if we can get it working.
Okay. We may have to restart the router.
We have our IT guy saw a little while ago. So, okay, any other member comments? Yes.
Sorry. My concerns are...
Your name and UBL?
Huh?
Your name and UBL before you start?
Ron Spinetti, 9255. The Hartman project's a big issue. The water moratorium's a bigger issue with me. But both projects are. Also, your fire evacuations, when you talk to other people, they're terrible. You could open up other gates to get people out. You got a lot of people to evacuate when you got to do that. I would suggest opening up some of your fire gates and all that other stuff. You need more ways to get out than what you got. Also, too, the cost of HOAs going up. I'm tired of the $10 hit you hear, like for the pool cost. That should be in your dues, period. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other member comments at this time? Okay, we'll go on with the agenda. First item is the approval of the agenda. Does anyone have any changes to the agenda?
I was just going to say we're going to remove the 7B item based on a conversation we had in the executive session.
Good call.
And that was a bar for the agreement of a third-party collection agency.
It'll come back at a future meeting.
So, okay. And then I also understand that as part of the president's report, we have a guest speaker, so we'll move that up to the beginning of the meeting for a presentation, okay? Any other changes? Okay. With that, we'll go on to reports, and maybe let's just start with our guest report. Can we do that?
Yeah, I was gonna.
I'll let you introduce our
Yeah.
guest and
So there's been a lot of conversation about Park Watch. This is an application that I used when I was in Oroville. It's very helpful in reporting issues and problems around the association, various amenities. It's been tested some. Obviously, we're ready for a rollout. Janet Peterson from Park Watch is here to talk a little bit about it and do a little brief demonstration. There are flyers out in the foyer there. If you don't have one already, I recommend you pick one up. This is very simple to use, and it will help streamline reporting of various maintenance-related issues. We may roll it out to do greater things at a future date, but initially it's going to be maintenance-related issues here for the Hidden Valley. So Janet, if you want to step up to the mic there, or do you want to stay here, whatever works for you.
Get out of your chair.
Get out of my chair. Whatever you say.
Randy and I have a long-standing relationship, you can tell. Yeah. I set it up just for you. I own Park Watch Report, and it was started back in 2014 to address issues that were predominantly in California state parks. Trail issues, parking issues, a lot of maintenance issues and things like that. And it spread. It spread incredibly. The point of it is to make a connection between maintenance or a managing entity and the public, the people who are using those amenities. If you look around frequently, there is no phone number that says, gee, call us if you have a problem, right? Or here's our email, we want to hear from you. Well, they do in most cases want to hear from you, but what happens when you just call is whatever you have to say goes on the back of an envelope or a Post-it or a scratch pad, and then you never know what happened to it. You have no way to follow up on whatever it is. The most frequent report is trees down, is blocking a driveway, or it's blocking a trail, or whatever. And on the flip side of that now is that the manager who gets that report, and he gets a description like it's by the big tree and the little rock, and he's got 16,000 acres. Where? I mean, he'd be more than willing to address it, but he wouldn't know where to even start. So enter Park Watch Report. I will show you. The reporting system is just ultra simple. It is on your phone. You can download it on Android at Google Play or at Apple Store. You type in as one word, Park Watch Report, all one word, and the app will come up. And this is how simple it is. You put in your contact information. And then you have these drop downs. You select what the kind of report is that you are reporting, all of these kind of like, autofill. This one is, what activity are you involved in? And the reason this is included is because there is a correlation between people who are fishing and water sports. There is a correlation between people on horses and bikes. That's a fact. And it is very helpful to know what activity is having problems or what activity is causing problems. And that's why that is included there. And then you have a space here that you can write an endless comment. Endless. You go down here and I'm going the wrong way here. The next one is you have date and time, which fills for you automatically. And then most significantly, if I click on this button right here, it says locate me, it is gonna locate me right here in this room, right? And that's all you do. I seem to have an internet problem. We're just talking about it, yeah. Right. And then I can add, I can upload a picture. This is incredibly important. This is where the maintenance guy wants to see how big is that tree. Not only, now when I click locate me, up here is the actual GPS coordinates, boom. Now, I'll show you the report that comes through to maintenance, gives you even a Google map. So you can see the exact address, you know, et cetera. But he's got to know how big is that tree. If he does, and this has happened at state parks, the ranger gets an email, he's sitting at his dinner table, the photo comes through, he does not have to hike out to find the big tree and the little rock. He has a GPS location. He has a photo. The photo shows a gigantic tree. Now he knows who to dispatch, how much equipment, when can they put it on the schedule, and how long it will take, and he never left the dining room table. That's the economy of the entire situation on the response side. Now, on the management side, if I go back up to, that's why you want to include a photo. Let me go back here to the home page. Now I'm going to show you what comes through. This is what your, let me sign in here. My username.
So we have, I guess, a carrier connectivity issue for course. You have a hotspot maybe you can connect to?
This part is working.
Okay.
This part, it's okay. I mean, the GPS for some reason, the locate me part didn't connect, but the rest of it is okay. Okay, so now I'm going to show you what comes through to your maintenance people, because this is a part that you won't see. Last night, I put through this test report. And so you'll see on the screen here, you go across and you can go to this eyeball, and this is the report that came through. All right, it says, now I marked it test so nobody goes looking for this broken sidewalk, but it has a unique ID number at the top, date and time that I filed it. You know exactly when this report occurred. There is a picture of the broken sidewalk. You can see it's a massive tripping hazard. It's not a little minute one. Then you drop down here, and here is, this is the part I was showing you. You blow this up, that is the place, which happens to be very close to where we're sitting right now. Now, at the same time, your maintenance people could go to the Google map and come up with, there you are, right by Stonehouse. Now they know exactly where the problem is. You didn't have to pick up the phone. They didn't have to query you over which side, north, south, up or down. It's all right there. Now, in addition to that, if I go back to the report part,
Randy Murphy?
Yes.
You ready?
Yep. There you are. All right.
Have a great day.
as they accumulate different reports, every report lands on this page, every report. And there is no delete. There is no delete button. You can archive it, but so that's not in your face for 5 years, but you cannot delete one. Each one has a unique ID number, and the person who does the report, it comes up on their profile page. So, when you register and you file a report, every report that you ever file is listed under your name. If you want to follow up on it, you have the ID number, you have all of the details in front of you on your computer or on your phone that you can call and have an intelligent conversation or come to a meeting with and discuss what it was that you reported. In addition to that, the maintenance department also has the opportunity to respond to reports, to say, thank you, I got it, we're going to take care of it on Thursday. Or it's a massive expense, I have to go to the board. But whatever it is, they have the opportunity to keep you in the loop in terms of what's going on. And once again, it's all via your phone or your computer. Nobody is trading phone calls, etc. Sure.
Is this a free application?
It is free.
Awesome.
It is free.
And you don't need a cell phone.
Sorry?
You don't need a cell phone.
You don't need a cell phone?
I do not have a cell phone.
Yeah, you can. Do you have a
I can
computer?
still use this.
Yeah, on your computer is identical. The only thing you have to do now, when you do it from home, let me show you. When you do it from home, I'll go to the tree one, okay? And this location right here, when you do it at home, that's gonna be your couch or the office in your home. So you can move it at home, you just relocate it. Because if you hit locate me, it's gonna locate you in your house. But you just take hold of that button when you're filing a report and move it to an approximation of where that's at. Something that, anybody could find. Sure.
Does the map tell us what is association common areas?
Well, the blue line is the outline of your, what would you call it, your property. Right, that's the outline of your property.
But it doesn't
Right,
tell
so this is for association common properties only.
Yes, it
You
is.
can't be reporting other problems with other neighbors and things like that.
That's why I'm asking.
Right, no, it's-
Is there a way to differentiate?
Well, yeah, one of the maps had recent locations, right, common areas.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Sure. Let's go back to the home page here. Here you are. On this page now are all of your common areas that have been selected for inclusion on here. So this little deal here lists, for instance, here's Big Beach. And you go there, and here is where Big Beach is. Does that answer your question? Yes, right, yeah.
So you're getting away where you're not going to be reporting on your neighbors.
This is for common ground
Okay, I
maintenance.
just wanted to see it, for example.
Right. Yeah, about things that you notice. Yes.
Does that include common roadways?
If that's covered by your maintenance
Yes.
department, I would think so.
So it's in addition to all those numbered spots?
Yeah, it would be in addition to that, you would put roads, yes.
If you drop the pin wherever you're making a report on your phone, and then you say locate me, and we'll put it exactly where you are. So if there's a huge pothole, for instance, or the stop sign is down.
Yeah.
You can report that kind of stuff as well.
If you're standing on the spot, locate me will nail it right there. If you're at home, you just move it to, an approximate, that intersection or roughly that location. Yeah. All right, so now I have some lapel pins here on the counter that you guys are welcome to take if you're interested. The more people that use it, the easier it is for your maintenance department to respond and keep track of the things that you notice going on. There's business cards. If anybody needs help downloading it to their phone or using it at home, you call me directly, and I work with you on the phone to get it, working on your phone or computer or whatever you're having trouble with. And then there is a handout here that talks about how to do the downloading and the services and things like that. Any questions? I'll hang around a little bit afterwards if you guys want have questions today.
Great job.
Yeah, oh, good.
Great invention.
Good.
Thanks, Janet.
Okay.
It's not known as, like Randy has his things.
And where are you located, Jim?
I'm in the Auburn area. Yeah.
You live in an association there, right? No? Okay. But you have attachments with one
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
then? Okay.
Okay, great, good report, thank you very much, very informative. We'll go back to our regular agenda, and the first report is the President's report. So I have a little presentation, but before I begin that, I wanted to acknowledge that today is one of our directors' last day as a director, or last meeting, I should say, Jack Worcester, and I want to acknowledge Jack's service and dedication. He's helped the association in a lot of different ways over the years. The last, as a director, little over 2 years this latest stint. He served as vice president, he served as president. It would have been easy with all the demands on him for him just to step aside several times, but I really admire him that he stuck it out to the end of his term. He's continued to participate and give to the association any way that he can. So as behalf of the board, Jack, I want to thank you for all your service and wish you the best going forward from here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, I look forward. Next Saturday, we're going to have our annual meeting, and our three new directors will be taking their place on the board. So that'll be next Saturday, about the same time at 9 in the morning, a little earlier. And for my report, I just wanted to go, being the month of Thanksgiving, November, I wanted to pause a little bit and think of, as board president, what am I thankful for? So I just did a quick little thing here. The top 10 things that I'm thankful for, the group of directors that you see up here, we are just now completing our first year together. I've served for a year as a president, and I've learned that as the president, you really need to rely on a lot of other people to do the job. So part of this being thankful is for some of those people that have helped along the way. So in order, the things I'm thankful for, number 10, Hidden Valley Lake, finding a bit of paradise, a place where I could buy a house, where I could retire. And then that paradise included a lake, a golf course, parks, a lot of amenities, and a community of good people. So that's kind of what holds all this together. Number 9, that we've avoided the next big fire. The board's continually increased the amount we spend on fire prevention. We've worked on sirens and nixles, et cetera, et cetera. I think we are better prepared than we were a year ago. As Chief Wink said, as much as you do, there's always more to do. So we've been also relying on a little bit of luck. Knock on wood, so far we've been safe. And that's the map of our valley fire. If you don't recognize it, the red is all the parcels that were burned out, the ranchos and the association and all. So knock on wood, we're avoiding the big fire. Number 8, that we had a great acting general manager, Charles Russ. At the beginning of the year, we let our other general manager go, and for about 6 months, we needed some direction. And Charles Russ stepped up and filled the bill, provided the structure and background and the documentation that we needed. And I think he was just the right person at the right time to fill that spot and get us through that rough period. Number 7, all the association volunteers. We've got great standing committees of volunteers that are contributing. This last year we had the facility planning committee that did their work helping us develop our master plan, and really just all the community volunteers that make this happen like it does. So we're always looking for more great volunteers as well.
Oops, sorry.
Don't get ahead.
Sorry.
You gave away my good picture. Number 6, my fellow directors. And as we know at this table, this is not the easiest job around. We do get a paycheck with a lot of zeros, but it's tough work. And this board has really stepped forward this last year and made some tough decisions that I think are really going to help the association in the long run. And they've stuck it out. When the going got tough, they could have left, but they've been dedicated and stuck it out. So I thank all my fellow directors for the last year. The board's achievements. Next month, I'll be giving a summary of what we've done in the year-end report. But a couple of things I'm proudest of, our increase in communication and transparency, and that we found a new GM that's adopted our goals. So just thankful that as a board we've been able to move ahead and get some things done this year. Number 4, the generators. I like the way that the electricity's now brought us together as a community. Really thankful for the staff's foresight and vision. I would love to claim that the board had this great idea that we needed generators, but it was really brought to us by our staff here. And their foresight and vision got us on the right track ahead of just about everyone else in terms of getting generators. And now that we've had some PSPS, we can really appreciate the value. And me personally, I'm like everyone else. I hate making that assessment payment every year, but I think that special assessment was some of the best money I spent this year, and I hope others felt the same way for the benefit that we've received from it. Number 3, that we just completed a budget that we can move ahead with. Doing a budget's always a delicate balancing act. This board, it was complicated. You know, we don't have as much money as we need. We have a lot of pressing issues that we need to take care of. But with everybody working together, the staff, the committees, I think we've got a budget that meets our needs, and it provides a method that we can move forward on rejuvenating our amenities. So in a tough situation, I think we did a good job there with the help of the staff. And speaking of the staff, what a great staff that we have here. When we had GM interviews, all the candidates commented what a great staff and how they wanted to work with our staff. And I think everything that the board and the general managers accomplished, it wouldn't be possible without our great staff. Their foresight in issues, their caring, their dedication, and from the directors and managers all down to every single employee, I think it's our biggest asset, our staff, and I really appreciate the hard work that they do for us. And number 1, our new GM, Randy Murphy. I think we finally found a GM that fits our community. We've seen him go out of his way to communicate with all our members, and I can say from my vantage point, he really is dedicated to public service. So.
That picture was taken a long time ago.
Well, I still had your 6th grade picture, and I thought about that one, but yeah. So just to wrap up, and in the next slide, I wanted to just take a moment as a person think what I'm thankful for. I think it's been a good year. I think we all have a lot to be thankful for. With the new GM, I'm looking forward to an even more productive year and a better year for all Pavilions, and looking forward to more time to go on walks with my dog, and so that I can personally ponder what I'm thankful for in the new year. So there you have it. That's my report for today. No problem. But, you know, think about what you're thankful for, I guess I'd leave you with. So next is the secretary report.
Jane Hardock to follow. Yeah. So summary for executive session, October 24th, 2019. The meeting was called to order at 4:17 p.m. Present were Directors Bashir, Story, Swanson, and Wiley. Excused absence was Director Worcester. There were no member or personnel issues. Formation of contracts, the board was updated with the new dock proposal with Harbin Property and The board was updated with the new dock proposals and the Harbin Property for the spoils from the lake dredging project. Legal issues, GM Mercy updated the board with 2 legal issues. The meeting was adjourned at 5:37, and the next meeting was today, November 9th.
Okay, great, thank you. Next, treasurer's report. Steve, you have anything for us today?
After completing the budget in the last couple of months and the last month's review of the quarterly financials, no. Kim, unless you've got anything. Sorry, I couldn't hear. I'll speak up. Just all I said was with the approval recently of going through the budgeting process, and last month we did the quarterly financials, there's really nothing I have to say at this meeting. And I just asked Kim if she has anything since we talked last, if there's something I'm missing. So, good. All right. That's it.
Okay. No, thank you. No, you and the Finance Committee have been doing double, triple duty over the last couple months, so I'll give you a break today. That's fine. Staff report, General Manager Murphy.
So, yeah, thank you. I have several things to talk about. Food and beverage, report from Matt Metcalf. I've shared this with some already, but just so for the greater audience, October was the busiest month in the history of the Greenview. Sales exceeded $170,000. We don't have final numbers yet as far as, what the bottom line was. But Matt is confident that we were on the positive side of the ledger. The previous sales record was $148,000 in June, so we exceeded that by about almost $25,000. Interestingly, the year over, previous October, I believe, was 107. So we were, 70 or so % higher than that. Matt was also elected to the Lake County Chamber of Commerce. One of the things that I've been talking with staff and the board about is trying to reach out to the greater community and be part of the greater community. That will help us in our fire prevention efforts. It will help us in a lot of different ways. Matt has kind of taken the lead there and volunteered to be on the chamber board, which will help us also attract new business or, different things. Day of the Dead concert was a success. We're looking forward to expanding it for next year. Thanksgiving buffet reservations are going strong. He's hopeful of doubling last year's totals. He says, we're booking numerous holiday parties. Space is filling up fast. I've already had to turn a couple of parties away because we were already booked on the requested date. And he's also trying to initiate a Lake County hospitality golf tournament. So I've provided some information to the board. Anybody who might be interested, the idea is to do a fundraiser for the culinary program and use that and possibly bring like Guy Fieri and some of those famous chefs, some that live in the area, some that don't, do a golf tournament and use it as a fundraiser to help them provide scholarships to individuals who otherwise might not be able to afford to go. So, kudos to Matt for thinking outside the box. He also let me know that they had a health department inspection again. This is the second one since I've been here in 5 months. We got a 96 this time. He said they haven't been inspected for years, but 2 in the last few months, he said, was not concerning to him. He's ready to rock and roll anytime. We did a flash vote for fire preparedness. I think a lot of folks in this room are signed up and participated. For those who are not, what are you waiting for? The next survey will likely be about chickens. So if you want to participate in the community survey about chickens, I encourage you to cross the road and get it done. Interestingly, about fire preparedness, just to share a couple of things. Some people didn't know we had one. Some people thought it was Inconvenient Day. There were some ideas about programs that would be offered. So, it was generally a good survey, and the overall results were positive. Everybody should know now we're testing the sirens on the first Saturday of every month. A Nixle goes out about an hour ahead of time. So if you didn't get the Nixle, then apparently Nixle doesn't know you exist. So I suggest, again, it's 333-111 is the text, and text HVL alert, all one word, or HVLA alert, however you want to pronounce that. But you test that. If you've signed up already, it will give you a note saying you've already signed up. If you haven't, then it will tell you, thank you for joining. GM blog is live. I've been writing a lot. My monthly views articles are posted there as well. I have a lot to say. Hopefully you want to hear it. I encourage debate, so if you don't agree with what I'm saying or have questions about what I'm saying, I'm here anytime. Firewise, we were renewed Firewise. I'm probably stealing some of Sue's thunder here, and I apologize. But we were renewed for Firewise for 2020, and that's an important thing that helps us provide, at least makes us more insurable. If we didn't have that, some of the carriers may choose not to do that. I also wanted to share real briefly, I had an interaction with a resident who sent me a letter that basically, I could tell by the rating that he was an older gentleman and had some kind of palsy because it was shaking in the printing that he was doing. And basically, he was concerned that he was not being considered and that we didn't want to hear from him, and we didn't care about him, and I'm collectively, including the board in that, basically he made a statement like, I'm sure the board just wants me and others like me to get out or shut up. And so, he actually wrote that. So I called him and spoke to him and his wife, and he's a 90-year-old gentleman. He and his wife live together still here. They've been here for over 30 years, and he was feeling alienated. And so I personally, it humbled me in a lot of ways because for those of you who read my November Views article, Can You Hear Me Now? I'm talking about all the new things. Bruce even mentioned it in his president's report. All the new ways we're looking at providing transparency and providing information, and but it's mostly technology driven. The blog is on a computer. The Nixle alert is on your cell phone. This gentleman indicated he didn't have a computer. He didn't think he could afford one, but even if he could, he didn't have the desire to get up to speed. He apparently reads the Views, which is good, but that's old technology. It goes back to the Egyptians, I think, right, Jim? I was there. Yeah, that's why I asked you. But the idea is, here I am, and thinking we're doing a great job reaching out, and it was kind of, like I said, a humbling and sobering reminder that there are those among us who are in that same situation. They're older, or maybe they don't have the financial means to have all the latest, greatest technology, and so we reached out. I talked to Charles. We reached out to him. We got him signed up on Nixle. He has a home phone, obviously, so the Nixle does provide a way to sign up and get notified for that, because one of his concerns was about the sirens and what do they mean, and I'm not sure what to do. So it's a reminder that we need, as a community, to reach out to our neighbors. I think that's one of the things that makes this place special. Even though we're like a city, we're not a city, and we need to remember that everybody together makes a community. So we're reaching out to him. I encourage you to reach out to your neighbors. If you don't know who your neighbors are, 3 or 4 doors on either side of you, it's time to knock on some doors. I also wanted to announce that I am trying to meet with former supervisor Ed Roby. We actually had a meeting scheduled for this week, but it had to be rescheduled for next week. And so I'm trying to get to the bottom of the letter that he wrote in 2000. I'm trying to find the attachment from 1993. I'm reaching out to the county. So I'm doing my best to address the flooding issues and some of the other concerns that have been raised recently. And lastly, I wanted to talk about, I just received this notice of intent from the County of Lake to adopt a mitigated negative declaration regarding the Brambles Golf Course. Now, I've heard some comments from some of the members, mostly in idea of kind of the anti-Hartman sentiment, in that we're going to have some competition here, et cetera, and why spend the money? I just wanted to announce that the negative, the meeting, or actually they're reviewing this, they're taking comments through December 1st. And one of the things I wanted to point out is in here, it says, if I can find it, and I apologize, I didn't highlight it before. It says, if in the future the applicant chooses to open the course to the public, further environmental review will be required. So for those who are concerned about the potential of having competing golf course in the community or nearby, taking away from our play, this course is not even be completed for several years, and then they would still have to go through an entirely different and separate environmental process. So, we're talking probably a couple of decades before it's even cause for concern.
if they go public, right? But
Right, right,
intends
if,
to
that's what I'm
be
saying,
private.
if they do it. It's going to require, so that what they're doing now and setting it all up, it's intended to be a private course. It's not going to have any impact on our play.
And the Brambles, is that the name? of it, did you
Brambles,
say?
yeah, like-
I hadn't heard that before.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Brambles Golf Course. And if anybody wants a copy of this, I can make it available. That's all I have.
Okay, anything else? Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. We have the regular board meeting minutes of October 24th. We have a resolution 1931 to record liens and resolution 1932 for third-party collection agency action. Anybody want to take any of the items off the consent calendar, consent agenda, or make a motion to accept?
I'll make a motion that we accept the consent agenda as is.
I second that.
Okay, motion and a second. Any discussion? Don't see any. All those in favor? Okay, the consent agenda is approved. Then for the board's review, we have EC committee meeting minutes of October 4th and October 18th. We have the unapproved common committee minutes of October 22nd and the safety and security committee minutes of October 8th. And in terms of committee business, I'd add right now, we're asking each of the committees to look at their rosters, define which people are going to be ending their terms, if any of those people want to renew again, and let Robin know, and kind of resetting our committees over the next month or so. Any of the committee liaisons have anything they want to add about their committees?
Well, I was just going to let everybody know that we were approved for our Firewise designation. We just got the notification this week that we were approved for 3 years, but Randy already shared it.
Right, so, and that's through our Firewise. Is that a subcommittee of our safety and security, for my own clarification? Okay, so it is
And
a,
our designation is through National Fire Protection Association. That's who we submitted to.
okay.
We have to have 100 hours per house, in addition to all the other things that we have to have. But
What do you
unless-
mean, we have to have some kind of,
There's requirements to
right,
our rating.
but that we do weed abatement 100 hours, or do what 100 hours?
Anything. So when Louise and I go to fire safe council meetings and all that, all of our hours get reported, every member's, plus the weed abatement.
Oh, okay.
Anything that we,
So you take all our houses times 100, and then we have to do that much activity?
Yes.
I got it.
yes.
Okay. Okay, good. Any other committee? Also, at the next, when we have our new board at the next meeting, I'll be redoing the committee liaison assignments, or updating those. Okay?
I wanted to clarify why the Commons Committee was unapproved. It's because they didn't have a quorum.
Right, correct. And, well, I just was at a Lake Committee meeting, and they, because the chair had some issues and all, they didn't have a quorum, so they'll be sending us their unapproved minutes, so just so we can stay up to date till they have time to approve them. Okay, there are no committee appointments. Our next item is old business, contract to replace the old dock. You want to set this one up?
Sure, yeah. I think within my first week of being here back in June, we had a very strong wind that broke most of the old dock loose and was in danger of floating out, maybe over the dam, I don't know, but certainly needed some repairs. We had somebody come out and do an emergency repair. And we've had some conversation about this in the past. He gave us a bid to resecure the dock in its existing location. I had the authority to do that from the board as an emergency expense, and then found out, then we started thinking about it, and it's like, well, let's maybe think about adding, we're 100% capacity, maybe we need some more dock space. So various iterations of that occurred. We had some trouble getting a hold of the vendor to have those conversations. We've subsequently, or relatively recently, found another dock manufacturer in the community, or at least in Lakeport, that does very similar work. I went out with Matt Woodard on Thursday and inspected his work and found it to be very good quality. So this this action request is to give me the authority, or at least to approve the expense of up to $160,000. The dock itself is about $125,000. there's some additional work that needs to be done. If the board approves this contract today, or even when it approves this contract, it's about a 3-month lead time for the work to be completed. So we still need to do some work to secure the existing dock. A couple of windstorms we've had recently have reinforced the concept that what we have out there is not adequate, and it's going to be problematic. So far, although we've had reports of some minor damage to a few of the boats, we have not had a claim made about making any repairs. I suspect that's only a matter of time, especially if we don't do anything. So, about $125,000 is what the bid is to replace the dock. That's to make it longer. That's to add 12 spaces. It's also to make the slips a little bit wider to make it more accommodating some of the larger pontoon boats that are available now. So, talking about $125,000, which fortunately for us, our finance director, or whatever our official title is, I always mess that up, had the foresight to include that expense in this year's reserve. So when we were looking at the end result, the year-end summaries in the five-year window and the future windows going out, this was a anticipated expense. This amount will, there's a few other things, like I said, that were going to be necessary. We need to temporarily secure the existing dock. We need to remove the existing dock. I know there was some thought about using that to extend the other plastic dock, but we came to find out that by leaving the old dock in the water, even though we're repurposing it, it's not being replaced, and therefore the new dock would not be eligible for reserve expense, and then it would become an operations expense. So. And we don't have it in the operations budget, at least not this year, and obviously we passed next year's budget, so it's not in next year's budget either. So kicking the can down the road is not the best solution in my opinion. So at any rate, like I said, the request is to authorize the expenditure not to exceed $160,000 with the dock factory from Lakeport, and that's what I have to say about that, to quote Forrest Gump.
Okay. Any directors want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to award the contract to the dock factory and supply company not to exceed $160,000.
I second that motion.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Jack, any comments?
Obviously, it's something we have to do. It's been long. We've waited too long. Should have been done sooner, so let's get it done.
Steve?
Nope, I can't say any better than Jack just did.
Yep. Okay. Nope, I agree with Jack. We want to improve our lake, and it's a good way to do it. So, okay, all those in favor of the motion? Okay.
Thank you.
3 months, we'll be looking for a new dock.
That's the plan.
Okay, that's old business, new business. We have one item, approve the Board of Directors 2020 meeting schedule. And we have a draft for consideration drawn up that's been modeled after this year's, where it's generally the second and the fourth Thursday at 6:30 for the open meeting and 4 o'clock for the executive session, and then the middle of each quarter, the second, fifth, whatever that is. So same way we've been doing it, the middle of each quarter, have a Saturday meeting, the first meeting of the month to be a Saturday meeting. So that's what's been proposed. Any motion?
So we can discuss it?
Yeah.
Oh, sure. I'll make a motion that we approve the 2020 Board of Directors Executive and Regular Board Meeting Schedule.
I second that.
Okay. Good. Now, discussion. You want to start?
Well, I was the one that asked for the Saturdays, and the compromise to keep the Saturdays was to do the one quarterly. Sorry, I'm sorry. I was the one that asked to keep the Saturdays going. The board kind of wanted to axe them, and I asked them to keep them going so that we could have people that work come. We have a few more members here today. We don't normally on a Saturday have this many people in this room, so I'm thrilled that there's more people here. I kind of tossed around the idea of moving a few Thursday meetings up and having them start at 9 and then having our board meeting start at 11, just to change things up a little bit and make it a little bit more convenient. We have some directors that do extracurricular activities, coaching baseball, seeing their husband when they don't get to see their husband very often, that kind of stuff. So trying to make it a little bit easier for all of us. We try to make it good for you, but try to make it a little bit more convenient for us also. So I'm wondering if any of you have any input on maybe possibly doing, I don't know, maybe once a quarter, or I don't know how we would think about doing this, but moving one of the board meetings up on a Thursday to have our executive session at 9 and our regular, just like today. I know with staff, I mean, it's going to take away work hours, but.
I don't have a big argument with that, but I'm not sure.
I don't know how to schedule it.
Yeah.
Well, I know some of the new board members have other things that they have to do in the evenings, and so during certain seasons, and so just to try and make it easier for all of us.
Well, is this a tentative approval of this, or should we wait for the new board members to come on?
Well, part of it is we need to do it to publicize it for the next year. We need to have a little advance time.
Okay.
We could, when the new board comes on, we could modify it. I think that might be preferable than to wait now, because
Okay.
we have things that we need to publish.
Okay.
So, yeah.
My thought would be to approve this schedule so that we have certain things, we have other, staff, I take time off based on when the board meetings are scheduled, et cetera. A thought that I had as Director Story was speaking just now was, I've seen social media comments, I've heard things personally, we do the meetings when us working stiffs can't come, kind of thing. Whether it be this meeting or my GM meeting or whatever. And I'm asking people for contributions, suggestions, and thus far it's mostly crickets. But one of the thoughts that I had was flash vote. Again, we have a tool at our disposal that can be used to reach out and, ask questions like, do you come to the meetings? Why or why not? What would be the most convenient day and time for you to attend the meetings, and at least get a pulse from those that have signed up. And again, I encourage people to sign up. We have, as of when I checked earlier this week, 139 people that have signed up, not all of whom live in the association. It gives us a statistical relevance of plus or minus 9% on this most recent poll. So there is some value to the opinions being rendered by the 139. I think I said 113 out of the 139 participated in this most recent poll. So we got reasonably good participation from those who have signed up. But we've got 3,200 odd lots. We've got, 2,700, I think it was, individual separate owners that we mailed our special meeting or annual member meeting announcement to. So there's 2,700 people that have a financial interest in the association, not counting the people that rent here. I'm talking owners, different owners. And we got 139 people providing opinions. We should have way more people signed up. It doesn't cost anything. Anybody who's taken the poll, a minute a month is what the advertisement is, and I did my last poll. I don't think it took me more than 30 seconds. So it's, it helped that I was familiar with the questions that were going to be asked. But, nonetheless, the idea is we've got people that are begging for opportunities to provide input. we're asking for input, and again, we have some, and thank you for those who are doing it, but a lot of the folks aren't. So again, going back to my original statement, I think we approve this agreement, this schedule, which is basically what we're doing this year. And then after we do the chicken survey, we do a survey, and I think there was one other one we were talking about, but we'll do a survey in the early part of next year about when would be a good time. Again, people that have something to say, look how many people we had here for the chickens. I know in the past, we've had board meetings where, standing room only out in the foyer and outside. If you have something you want to talk about, you can be here. So it's a matter of trying to make it important to them, and then they'll come. I don't think it matters what day we have it.
So you're recommending more controversy? Is that what I heard?
Well, for the sake of my blood pressure, no. But
you kind of convinced me at the beginning to wait, but then when you said 127 out of 2,700, then I'm like, I wanted to ask Sue a question. So you're not saying to give up the Saturdays, you're saying that some of the Thursday dates, let's do them a little bit earlier. Because I'm in favor of trying different dates and seeing, anything we can do to get more people to the meetings. The Saturday experiment in general, I think, has been kind of a wash, or maybe not even a plus, that it's the same people, there are a few more maybe, but it's not bringing in necessarily a bigger crowd. So I wonder, just for the director's convenience, if rather than waiting around all day Thursday for the evening, if we could do it in the morning and then have the afternoon finally free. Kind of selfishly, that's kind of where I was leaning to, but we could do that based on what the results are. If a lot of people say that they can come a certain time, I'd be willing to adjust, but we'll see what they say. So any other preference, comments on this? We have a motion to accept the schedule based on last year's schedule. At least that will move us forward, and then going forward, if we want to adjust it based on the survey or new director needs or whatever it may be, we can do that at a later time. Okay, so all those in favor of adopting the schedule? Okay.
Thank you.
So we'll go ahead with that schedule. So that's the end of our agenda. Brings us to member comments. Do we have any members that would like to speak? See hand up, Sandy.
Sandy Bayless, 692 and 693. Regarding the meetings, some people, it doesn't matter when you have them, they're not going to come and put their butts in these chairs and sit and listen to all this routine stuff for several hours. I would like to know if you're getting good feedback about doing them so they can watch them at home in their jammies when their kids are sick and have more information and more input from them. That's one thought. The other is, I just got the notice that our annual meeting is a week from Saturday, so you barely squeaked through the 10-day legal requirement, which really should be 30 if you can do it. So I'd appreciate it if, when you publish your annual list of meetings, that you put that tentative date on there and that you try to make the 30 date next year. A lot of people don't live here, and they would come for the annual.
Yes, no, that was in our tentative schedule, I think, for this year, so that was out there. And yeah, we just caught that at the last minute. Normally when we have an election, the inspector of elections sends out the announcement, and it just occurred to us that we're not having an election, so the inspector didn't send it out, and we better do it on a hurry. So yeah, the staff jumped right on it when we realized that. Okay.
Thank you to staff for getting that notice out.
Any other member comments? Yes, Ron again.
Ron Spinetti, 9255. Again, that Hartman project, I don't know how you guys passed it when you say you didn't get no feedback. You had a full school of people against it. I mean, I don't get it. Water moratorium also, you got 600 lots that are involved, and you guys have done the zip to help people all through this process. I've come in here personally, I don't know how many times, talking to different GMs about this. and got basically nowhere until Corey stepped up and started doing things. And then the new guy for the water department came in. He actually helped a lot. I've been a little bit away, but I plan to be deeply involved in a couple of these issues. Your fire evacuations, if you talk to other people that were here, they said you should open up different roads. I don't live here 100% of the time. I come up, I'm a weekend guy. I hope to retire here, but the way things are running, I'm changing my mind. I go, it's hard to come here and voice an opinion, and the voices that I heard at that school were dead against your Hartman project. And again, you're not reaching out to everybody, like your letter from that older gentleman. All right, I'm not that old. Technology for me was tough. I got given an iPhone at work. I didn't even own a phone, okay? I had a flip phone. I love my flip phone. I'm just used to doing an iPhone. So a lot of people probably aren't used to technology. And I'm one that's hard. I got to rely on my kids. Also, the increase in the dues. How much is the increase?
$27.
And you keep adding and adding up, but we don't get stuff for it. That's how I see it. My money spent here is hard pressed for what I see. Again, we bring up issues and it seems like they get washed aside because a lot of people don't talk to other people. I talk to people when I go swimming because I use your lake. I came here because of golfing and all that stuff. You used to have a lot of stuff for members and it's, sort of going downhill a little bit. I've never seen the golf course make money. I've never seen the Greenview make money. So how can you spend that kind of money at something that doesn't make you money? Same thing with your projects. You don't have a true cost, but yet you want to spend the money for it, $8.7 million, that people don't have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now, I could address a few of the things you said. It's good to see you at the meetings, and I think I encourage you to attend. You'll find a lot of the things that you're talking about we are addressing. The water moratorium, we've determined that, we've talked about that at a lot of meetings. That is not our responsibility. That's the CSD's responsibility. So we are working with them on any way we can to support them.
But you should have sued on behalf of 600 people, you and the water company. Should have started a class action suit against the state.
Well, that's your opinion. We've walked with them and we've asked them how we can assist, and we've done the things that they've asked us to do. So we are working with them. Regarding the gates, my understanding at the last evacuation, the appropriate gates were opened up at the one that we had. And in terms of the increase, we've mentioned this several times, the bulk of the increase is due to the dollar increase in the minimum wage and the number of workers that affects here. So that was nearly $400,000, I believe, just a little bit under that, just to comply with the law. So that's one of the reasons for the increase. But anyway, next, I'm sorry?
People at that school were dead set against it.
Some people were, some were not. I think the board in general, we've listened to all the comments. We've received dozens and dozens of letters. So we've taken a lot of different input, not just at the town hall, at board meetings, other input. So we have a pretty broad perspective. Next member would like to speak? Going once, going twice? Up. Okay, just made it, Elizabeth.
Elizabeth Montgomery, UBL 9532. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about how that evacuation went. I was one of the evacuated people. And, it was great that we had our security out there helping. It's great that there were a few people that got notified through the sirens that wouldn't have otherwise. Not very small percentage of people did get notified either through Nixle or the sirens. They heard other ways, mostly through Facebook or through friends, family, or neighbors. I don't have a cell phone like your 90-year-old member. I did not get any nixles. I talked both to the office here and to OES afterwards to say, what's up? I'd like to get a call in these situations. And I don't think I'm getting nixles. Someone in the office tried to sign me up again, even though I was already signed up, but I did not get notice for the test. I definitely support this idea that's been put out by Kathy Lano Jackson to make some exit-only gates that are now require somebody to come and unlock them in order to get out. I have a friend on Conestoga who found out about that fire because he saw it. He packed up his dog and some possessions and drove to that pinout gate, and it was locked. And you can imagine when you see a terrifying fire, you have no idea how big it is, you've had these other experiences, and you come to a locked gate. He did not think that he could get out Spruce Grove, so it would be great if we could have more exits. I totally agree. I was trying to help an elderly neighbor get out. It was very stressful, and I left him and went to look to see if that gate was open because I was worried about it, and I think my concerns are shared by a lot of people. By the time I got there, it was open, but I would like to see us actually doing rehearsals. I'd like us to have evacuation drills so that these situations aren't as stressful as they were. So it was a good rehearsal. I'm better prepared now, but I'd like everybody to have that experience of, I didn't know which gate to go out. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. And did you hear that? Sounds like some operational.
Well, a couple of comments. One, and Charles Russ was here at the last meeting, and he went through very excruciating detail. So those of you who were not here, I encourage you to watch the video from that meeting to hear kind of a timeline and a blow-by-blow description. To reiterate, nixles and sirens do not sound until we get authorization from the incident commander. That is per California Penal Code.
Can I mention one thing in response to that? When I talked to Dale Carnathan at OES, he said exactly the opposite. He said Hidden Valley decided to sound that siren without our approval. And I said, what? I've been hearing exactly the opposite.
Well, I will follow up with somebody because that's what I'm being told. But nonetheless, as far as opening other gates, we opened the one gate that was in the evacuation area, the Eagle Rock Gate, approximately 30 minutes after the fire started. That was, that's again, the way the notifications went. The evacuation was originally just a few homes on Conestoga. It was a very rapidly evolving incident. Within 5 minutes of being notified, open the gate, we're widening the evacuation, the gate was open. The idea of providing exit-only gates with some kind of tire shredder, those tire shredders are easily defeated by a piece of plywood or a heavy flat object that then makes that gate accessible to people, as I like to poetically call them, ne'er-do-wells. And so unless and until we have an ability to have eyes on, either via a video, some kind of remote observation, or an actual guard check, that is not going to happen for security reasons. As far as opening other gates that are not in the evacuation zone, same kind of issue. The zones that are being evacuated, the gates get open. If the area is not being evacuated, the gates don't get open. It's a procedural thing, it's a security thing. I think, again, I understand the concern, but if you're not being evacuated, why would the evacuation gate be open? and we don't make that call until the incident commander provides us that direction.
Okay, any other members speak? Going.
I'm going to get it, just a quickie.
Okay, Bence?
Did the item 7B got forgotten, or?
No,
I believe you came in late at the agenda setting. We removed that. We're not prepared. It'll be coming back at a future meeting.
My apologies.
Any other members? Kathy?
Kathy Emmer, 311100, and I'm very concerned about the fires too, Elizabeth. I mean, that those gates weren't opened during the Spruce Grove fires is very troubling. What I'm here is about the letter that we received from the attorney at Adams Sterling Law Firm concerning our recreational facility. The Hartman building was referred to as a recreation facility. They quoted a California case law that's 20 years old. In 1999, Mrs. Lambden went to court with a case against La Jolla Shores Club Dominium Association. And then Mrs. Lambden, 20 years ago, had termites in her wall. So she wanted the termites taken care of by the association. The board said, well, they were planning to have a major renovation at her building, and they didn't want to address just her termites in the walls of her building at that time. And she sued them to make them do the repairs in her wall. And the La Jolla Shores Club Dominium Association, the board of directors won that case, and the judge decided that Mrs. Lambden could wait until the major renovations were going to be carried out. This is the case law that this attorney is quoting to give a reason why our board of directors can go ahead and build a almost $8 million building here. Also, it was commented in California law that that it depends on the reasonable investigation made in good faith with regard to the best interest of the association and are within the scope of authority to be given to the board under the relevant statutes and CCRs. So we once again had a town hall where majority of the people spoke out. We had 36 people that spoke saying they did not want to have a green view. We had 9 people get up and say, we had one person saying she would like to see it be a smaller building. So I'm asking the people of Hidden Valley Lake just to be aware that Mrs. Lambden did win her case, but this was about a wall full of termites and not the rebuild of an $8 million building. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Going once, twice? We adjourn the meeting at 12:26. Directors, please stick around. We're going to go into the conference room and finish up our executive session.